In the opening scene of My Blue Summer, we see a roundtable meeting between two clients who are arguing over a contract. Lou comes in, and as the badass professional lawyer that she is, she pulls up video evidence in her favor and wins. Later on, Lou is with her colleagues in a restaurant to celebrate the success that she brought their way. One of the men she's sitting with commends her outstanding performance and good looks, but wonders why she's still single. Unknown to him, there's someone she loved, but is trying hard to forget. What do they say about true love again? True love comes only once in a lifetime. This, Lou believes without a doubt. After the whole event, Lou comes back home, takes her meds, and sits down to watch TV. On hearing of the passing of the Japanese anime director, Isao Takahata, her heart breaks. He made one of her favorite films. The next morning, Lou goes to the exhibition that is being held in memory of the late director. She looks around the place, admires the things she sees, and is about to pick up a familiar book from the glass case when she is interrupted by a man. She claims that the book belongs to her. The man makes her understand that he can't just give her the book, but needs her to follow protocol if the book is really hers. She brings out an ID from her bag and hands it over to the man, while he walks away with it. The book is her old diary that she kept in her teenage years, where she would always write about her secret crush and fellow pupil named Sheng Huinan. She had a hidden love for him, and she documented her story with him, which started when she was 8. Don't be confused, you will understand the reason for this as we take a walk down Lou's memory lane. There's a flashback to Lou's life as a child. Lou's mom is helping her wash her hair, but the 8-year-old kid runs off when she hears the ringtone to the house telephone. It's her dad, and unfortunately, he can't make it back home as he promised, because something very important came up at work. But he promises to buy her a raincoat she always wanted as a compensation gift, even though her mom said the raincoat is too expensive. The call that came from her dad is the last memory she has of him, because he had an accident that same night and passed away at work. At a wedding ceremony, Lou wanders to the back of the place and is sitting down alone, and that is where she met Huinan Sheng for the first time. When they see each other, they first stare for a few seconds, before Huinan walks up to her and introduces himself. After he takes his medicine from his mom, he takes Lou's hand and leads her to play with him and his friends. Lou's mom walks up to Mrs. Sheng, intending to ask for something, but starts off the conversation by commending the wedding. Mrs. Sheng, knowing what she's up to, doesn't even care to listen, but concludes that Lou's mom is just extorting her and her husband, because they have given all they possibly can as compensation for her late husband. Lou's mom is shocked at the words of Mrs. Sheng, but still tries to prove her point regardless, that the workers were not properly insured. However, she is warned by Mrs. Sheng not to make a scene at her ceremony. Meanwhile, Huinan puts a flower on Lou's head, and a crescent sticker on her forehead. A group of kids comes to them with their toy car, mocking Lou's shoes and making their car hit her. Huinan, like a superhero, takes the car and runs away with it, but ends up being bullied by the kids as well. Lou pushes one of the bullies before her mom walks in, throws away the flower on her head, and drags her out of the place. She warns her sternly that she can't play with Huinan, and Lou starts to cry. Poor kid, she does not know yet that there are more real-life problems. Huinan's mom, on seeing her son wet, is concerned. She also sees the boy on the floor and wants to know who pushed him. All the kids point accusing fingers at Lou. Some years later, Lou is at school and finds out after looking at the notice board that she made the top 10. As the students are jubilating, a teacher walks up to the notice board and adds another name to the top of the list, which puts Lou in the 11th place. The name just added is a newly transferred student, Huinan. Lou goes home. Meanwhile, her mom is again making calls and still striving for justice over her husband's passing. Lou enters the kitchen and helps herself to food, only to come out and see that her mom went through her bag and found the results slip, and she's not happy. Lou's mom is angry to realize that the Sheng family is making life miserable for her family once more. At assembly the next day, the principal praises Huinan and calls him up to the podium, following resounding applause from students. Huinan speaks wonderfully well, encouraging the other students to also strive for excellence. After the assembly, Lou runs into the school building and sees Huinan alone in a room playing the piano. She stands there admiring him, but leaves before she can be noticed. Lou always finds herself thinking about her first encounter with Huinan. But for Huinan, it is something already forgotten, because he didn't even notice her in school, talking more about remembering her. It's their school sports day, and the students are out engaging in different races. When Huinan runs, the whole school cheers him on, and different girls give different side comments. It's time for the girls, and while they're running, Lou is leading. But when her friend Wenru falls, she goes back to help her up. The students gather, and some boys start to mock Wenru. This pisses Lou off, and she grabs a cup of drink from someone and pours it on the face of one of the boys. Wenru and Lou walk back together, and Huinan runs up to them and hands Wenru her lucky charm, which went missing when she fell. At school, Lou goes up to a place she had earlier written something, and sees Huinan there, writing on the same wall she wrote on. It turns out that the line of a movie she wrote is familiar to him, and he in turn responds to the line. She waits for him to leave before going to take a look at what he wrote. He replied to what she wrote, and that's how they anonymously form a conversation on the wall. The feeling gets so intense for Lu that she even starts to copy Huinan in the way he eats, the way he carries his backpack, wears a headset, and in some other things too. In the next scene, there's supposed to be a play in the school auditorium, and the students involved are already present. The teacher in charge comes in and calls the school beauty, Janyan, to perform her a cappella before they proceed. But Janyan suggests they add instruments to her music, which doesn't sound pleasing to the students. It seems that Lu isn't the only one crushing on Huinan, because even though the teacher says it's already too late to add instruments, Janyan says Huinan can do it. As Huinan comes upstage to the piano, almost all the girls start to cheer him like he's a mini-god. Soon, they begin to rehearse. While the rehearsal is going on, Wenru calls the teacher's attention that she wants to quit. This makes Lu suggest that the lead singer part is better earned than assigned, and everyone agrees with her. She goes ahead to try, after being given an opportunity by the teacher, but ends up doing badly and Janyan regains the position. After their performance, Wenru goes ahead to do the dumbest thing ever. She shouts Huinan's name, and publicly tells him that she likes him. But Huinan just bows and walks out. Lu and Wenru are outside after the whole event, but Wenru doesn't regret what she just did. She even thinks Lu should shoot her shot at Huinan, because she knows Lu likes him too. In the next scene, they're all in class, and Lu is writing in her diary when it starts raining. Lu suddenly remembers something and runs out of the class. She goes to the wall where she and Huinan have been having their anonymous conversations, and discovers that rain has wiped everything away. As she stands there sobbing, she sees Huinan, and hides before he notices her. Lu gets to class to discover that her diary is missing. Someone has stolen it, but she doesn't know whom. Remember, this is the same diary she saw at the exhibition of the art director in the beginning. Lu is again peeping at Huinan while he plays the piano, and sees Janyan sitting with him. But this time, she doesn't run away fast enough, because Janyan sees her. Meanwhile, gossip about Janyan and Huinan has already spread around the school, and Lu realizes she has to move forward and stop crushing on this boy, because he wasn't even noticing, or even looking in her direction. Not even once. Lu becomes deliberate about focusing at school, and this pays off because she achieves the first position in class. Lu later learns from Wenru that Janyan and Huinan have decided to travel abroad, and that's why they don't care about their grades anymore. This lack of seriousness becomes obvious because Huinan's position is 25th. Quite a contrast to his earlier position where he was topping the class. Since Lu is in the first place, it's now her turn to address the school. She does this well and makes the students take an oath to take their academics seriously. It's 4 years after the last event, and Lu is seen on her bicycle. She stops and discovers that the boy in front of her is Huinan. However, some boys around the corner come to her and start engaging her in a talk about how great she acted. Now, as a college student, Lu enters her room to see her roommate Bailai crying about an issue with her boyfriend. Her roommate stops crying and calms down, but doesn't seem to be satisfied. She wants to cry more, and Lu comforts her, telling her that men are not worth her tears. Lu goes to get food the next day, and is called by another student to join him at his table. On getting there, she meets Huinan at the same table. Even after she recognizes him, she just acts like they've not met. After she introduces herself to the other boy, Zhang Mingrui, her name rings a bell in Huinan's ear, and he asks if she's the Lu Zhai that went to his high school. He introduces himself as Xung Huinan, but she pretends not to remember the name. She uses this opportunity as an avenue to know if he and Janyan are still together, probably to know how well she'll shoot her shot if need be, but he lets her know that they broke up. Mingrui invites her to join their film group, with the permission of Huinan, and she agrees to join them. The movie group comes late to class, after being pursued from the empty hall they were using. Mingrui tells Lu to sit with them, but she chooses to sit in a different place and spend her time staring at Huinan from behind. They are given a question in class to tackle, and the lecturer chooses Lu and Huinan to solve it in front of the class because the names are from poems. With Lu as the prosecution lawyer and Huinan as the defense lawyer, they argue over the case given to them, and this brings back memories of Lu's dad to her, because the case is similar to what led to his accident. She put her emotions and pain into the argument. Huinan doesn't have any other points and he agrees to her argument. When Huinan walks into the restaurant where Lu works, she bends down over the counter, but after some time, stands back up. Huinan sees her and asks for her recommendation on what he should eat, but she seems more concentrated on her work than whatever Huinan is saying, and just tells him to make his own choice, because all their foods are nice. She finally serves him what he orders. Huinan stays at the restaurant, and even helps Lu lock up, and they go home together. Could it mean that he is having feelings for her as well? Well, we'll get to find out. While walking home, Huinan suggests Lu quit her work at the restaurant, because she's overworked and underpaid. As they're talking, Lu gets a call and starts to run. Huinan, not knowing what happened, just follows behind, knowing from the way Lu responded to the call that there's danger. It turns out that her friend, Bailai, is in trouble at a bar. When Lu and Hyunane arrive at the bar, a group of boys has already surrounded Bailey. Lu goes and frees her from the boys, while one of them complains about his girlfriend's dress which Bailey ruined with wine. The girlfriend even insults them for not even being able to afford the designer dress she's wearing. Hyunane, seeing the chaos, comes to their rescue and apologizes on Bailey's behalf, and then calls out the girlfriend for the fake designer dress. As if that level of insult isn't enough, he hands her an excessive amount for the clothing, but she sees it as an insult, and this leads to another bout of fighting. They run out of the bar, and Bailey runs in one direction while Hyunane and Lu run together in another direction, trying to get away from the men that are chasing them. Lu and Hyunane finally find a place to hide from the men. At that point, Hyunane agrees with Lu about something she said before. This is about him always judging others, because of his high economic status and self-righteousness. Seeing Lu and Bailey doing part-time jobs to make a living and still being students makes him realize this, and he feels ashamed of himself. However, not to make him feel entirely bad about himself, Lu assures Hyunane that his superiority just saved them from the group of boys at the bar, so they're all even now. Lu squats where she is, and Hyunane joins her. He reveals to her how he usually goes to the rooftop back at high school and writes back to someone that once quoted a line from a movie he loves, not knowing she's the one. Lu doesn't say anything, and Hyunane breaks the already existing silence to go and call a cab because of the rain. It's another day, and Lu is in her dorm. She receives a text that makes her rush out, despite the heavy rain. She finally stops somewhere and stands in the shade. Seeing others coming to pick up their friends makes her quite sad. After waiting for a long time and almost giving up, Hyunane shows up. She's happy to see him, and he hands her a raincoat to put on, and carries her bag too. The movie group goes to an island for a shoot, and has the very best time. While on the train back to school, Lu is dozing off and hits her head on the window. But Hyunane sees her and puts his palm under her head to make her comfortable. They just smile at each other over and over again, till Lu says a line from the movie that Hyunane loves so much. It is at that point he realizes that the girl he had been having the wall conversation with from the lines of the movie back in high school is Lu. He holds her hand, and they continue their journey in silence. Eventually, Lu and Hyunane are finally dating, and he has even come to start working at the same restaurant she works in. Love can have even an unimaginable influence. Hyunane goes with his girlfriend to the train station and gives her a forehead kiss before she leaves. As she's on the train, she suddenly notices him beside her, and she's shocked that he followed her. Hyunane follows her because she's afraid to lose her. It becomes apparent that Lu is afraid of losing him too, so she makes him assure her they'll always be together. She finally arrives home and sees the happiness on her mom's face. After lighting incense for her dad, like her mom asked her to, her aunt comes over to the house and shows Lu's mom all the documents, ready for the trial. It is apparent that even after all these years, Lu's mom isn't resting till she receives justice, and ensures that all the people responsible for her husband's passing are brought to book. How will this turn out for the newfound love between Lu and Hyunane? In the next scene, the pair want to get into their former high school, and borrow uniforms to be granted access to the premises. They are there to relive the good old memories. While they walk in, Hyunane talks to her about walking behind him, because he has never liked it, and tells her that from that day, he'll be the one to walk behind her. Afterward, they play the piano and finally go to the rooftop where they had their wall conversations. Lu sees something she wrote on the wall before leaving the school, and runs ahead of Hyunane so that she can cover it up, but he catches a glimpse anyway. They lie down on the rooftop and start discussing. Hyunane always came to the rooftop to see people more clearly, while Lu believed that if she kept climbing, one day people would see her. Even though she doesn't care about people's opinions of her, a part of her still does, especially from those she cares about. She says some things about Hyunane that make him ask if she ever spied on him while they were in high school, but they just laugh it off. Hyunane thanks Lu for making him become a better person. She makes him promise that he'll always remember her sincere feelings for him, no matter what happens. Hyunane smiles and they finally kiss softly. Lu has doubts about if her relationship with Hyunane will last forever, because people always say romance is fleeting. Lu comes back to school without Hyunane. A week passes and he still hasn't resumed, or even gotten back to her even after so many messages. She knew this day would come, though not as quickly as this. Soon enough, news starts to go around about him, and that his family is in danger, and many other bad things. Lu goes back to her dorm, only to meet her mom there, waiting for her. Her mom comes with good news about the success of Lu's dad's trial. Sheng was found guilty and put in prison, while his wife passed out and has been taken to the hospital. Even though this is good news for her family, Lu has mixed feelings, because unknown to her mom, this has put her boyfriend's family in jeopardy. Lu cries bitterly because she has lost her boyfriend. She gets on a train and goes down to the hospital, where Hyunane's mom is. While at the hospital, Janyan walks up to her. They start a bad conversation that leads to Janyan saying many hurtful things to Lu. It's at this point that Lu discovers that it was Janyan that stole her diary back in high school, because she discovered that Lu had a crush on Hyunane. Janyan finally warns Lu to stay out of Hyunane's life, since she has nothing good to offer him. Lu feels miserable and depressed. She just sits all day, writing in her diary and waiting for the world to end. This is because they all believe the world is going to end on the 21st day of December 2012, so they organize a destruction party. After the countdown, they are still alive, and they celebrate their rebirth. Back to the present, Lu is still in the gallery, waiting for her diary. After some time, the man she told that it was hers comes and returns it to her. When Lu opens the diary, she discovers that Hyunane has written to her in the diary. He explains how Janyan gave him the diary after they graduated from high school, and how he had known her secret, even while they were dating. It turns out that he started suffering when his dad was put in prison, and his mom was in the hospital, which made him start to make ends meet on his own, and he couldn't return to school. Her diary inspired him, because he always thought of how she was able to survive when she was alone, while he had everything at his beck and call. Hyunane turned Janyan's request down, because he still liked Lu, but just didn't dare to stand before her because of the situation he had found himself in, so she went back abroad alone. Hyunane still loves Lu, but feels way below her league, because she has actually made it in life as a successful lawyer, but he is still living from hand to mouth. No matter how many times he tried to start his own business, it never worked out. Everything that Hyunane writes down is a story of him and Lu, and he put the book in the art gallery with the hope that Lu would one day get to read the story. After Lu reads the diary, she becomes sober and is moved to tears. While packing up, Hyunane finds a CD of their university movie group and starts to watch it. His romantic scenes with Lu make him emotional, and he cries. Lu is standing alone with her diary in her hand, and Hyunane shows up. They just stand there, crying and not saying anything to each other, before Lu breaks the silence and recites a part from their favorite movie, but his reply is even more romantic than she thought. Lu runs into his arms, and they embrace each other amidst sobs and tears. They have both been waiting for this opportunity to be together again. Hyunane apologizes for not reaching out to her, and making her wait this long before he came back for her. They wipe each other's tears, and Hyunane tells her that even though he's back, he doesn't have anything this time. But Lu isn't bothered about that, because he still has all the qualities she likes about him. He takes her hand and they run in the rain. Lu playfully asks Hyunane why he put her diary in the art gallery without telling her, and he lets her know that it's because he wanted the world to know that he loves her. It is a very happy ending as they smile and love at each other. Hyunane finally has his Lu back, and Lu is no longer fantasizing, but has her Hyunane to herself.